Shalom. I'm Rabbi Nathan Davidovich, speaking on behalf of the web yeshiva.org, speaking to you from Efrat, Israel. I'm going to speak a little bit about this week's Torah reading, Parsha Achrei Mot, and I'm going to talk about Sefirat HaOmer. I'm dedicating this particular shiur to the memory of my sister, Devorah Bas Rabbi Chaim, whose yurtzeit is tonight and tomorrow. May her neshama have an aliyah. We have just completed Passover, and now we're looking forward to the next holiday, the holiday of Shavuot. What connects these two? What connects these two holidays? The things that connects these two holidays is the Sefirat HaOmer, the counting of the Omer. The Torah commands us, Mimachrat HaShabbat, after the conclusion of the first day of Pesach, we should begin counting the Omer. What is the Omer? The Omer offering was an offering of barley that was brought in the holy temple, the Beis HaMikdash, on the second day of Passover. And then we begin counting 50 days until we get to Shavuot. And at Shavuot, we bring another offering. We bring 2 loaves of bread into the Beis HaMikdash, and those 2 loaves of bread are not made from barley, but are made from wheat. So what are the lessons we learn from this? First of all, we learn that during this period of time, from Pesach to Shavuot, we have to fulfill the reason that God took us out of Egypt. God took us out of Egypt for one reason, because He wanted to give us the Torah. He wanted to give the Torah to the Jewish people. And that occurred some 50 days after we left Egypt. So we count from the second day of Pesach until Shavuot, when we receive the Torah. What are we supposed to do during this time? This time we have to act in such a way that we will be worthy of receiving the Torah. And how are we worthy of it? By improving ourselves, improving our relationships, not only with God, but our relationships with every human being. This is a time that we have to look at what can we do better to have a better relation with our fellow human beings, with our fellow Jews. We know that during this period of Sefira, Rabbi Akiva's students, 24,000 of them, died. And the Gemara tells us that the reason they died is not because they weren't good students, not because they weren't learning Torah, but for one reason, that they didn't give honor to one another. As Rabbi Akiva has said, V'yahavta l'reacha kamocha, you shall love your neighbor as yourself, ze klal gadol b'Torah. That is an underlying principle of every commandment in the Torah, to love one another and respect one another. That apparently wasn't done by these 24,000 students, and they perished because of that. Even though they were great students, they learned Torah, they didn't respect one another. And that's a very important lesson for us as we go through this Sefira, that you're not being a good Jew by just keeping the mitzvos and following the Torah and studying Torah. That, of course, is an essential part. But what makes one a complete Jew and a complete person ready to serve God is how you relate to somebody else, how you respect another person. There's an interesting comment that the Aruch HaShulchan makes as to why these two offerings at the beginning of Sefirat HaOmer, at the end, the offering first of the Omer, the barley offering, and then the wheat offering at the time of Shavuot, the two wheat breads. Why does the Torah begin with the wheat offering? With the barley offering. The Omer is a barley offering. Barley is typically used for animals. And the Aruch HaShulchan says that this is a hint. This is a hint that as we're starting on our mission to come closer to God, to be a better person, we have animal instincts that we need to control. So we start out with these animal instincts, and then through these 50 days, we elevate these animal instincts to the category of a wheat offering, which is food for a human being. We go from being an animal to being a human being. That is further hinted at by a specific sentence in this week's Torah reading. It says, Daber el bnei Yisrael v'yomartu alehem, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, I am the Lord your God. Then the next sentence says, K'masei Eretz Mitzrayim, asher yeshavtim ba lo sasu. Don't do the things that the Egyptians did in Egypt. K'masei Eretz Canaan asher ani mevi eschem shama lo sasu. After the doings of the land of Egypt, from where I brought you, don't follow their actions. Don't follow their ways of serving their idols. Some commentators say that this refers to not doing the immoral things that the Egyptians did. But if it's a question of morality, later on in this Parsha, there's specific statements. Torah tells us specifically about immoral relationships. So what is the Torah telling us? The very next sentence in the Torah says, Es mishpatai tasu, you shall keep my statutes and my ordinances, to walk in them, to follow them. Ki ani Hashem, because I am Hashem Elokeich, the Lord your God. And we see that the commandment of not doing what the Egyptians did is bracketed by I am the Lord your God in both places, teaching us that acting as a Jew, acting with respect towards somebody else, not following peer pressure to do those things that are against the Torah, that brings you to within the parameters of godliness. If you follow God's commandments, you walk in them, that means that you are loving. You're loving your fellow man. You're loving every single Jew and every single human being. We want to complete this process. We want to take care of our animal instincts. An animal does whatever they want to do. A human being should not. A human being is created in the image of God. And as a human being, we want to do what God's will is. To get from our animalistic instincts with the initial offering of the barley to the receiving of the Torah on Shavuos, where we receive the Torah as human beings. Remember always, love your neighbor as yourself. Don't do hateful things. Don't speak ill of others. And don't do what is going on in this world right now, spreading hate. Let us learn to spread love. Thank you for listening on behalf of the wavyeshiva.org. I wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom. Have a wonderful